I couldn't recognize myself. Bears broke a fence into the apiary. I had a first panic attack in my life. In a month I would be a CTO of the new company and dump a lot of honey into the hole. Very difficult decision to quit this path as well without any plan. But I knew that I was choosing love over fear. Hi friends, I've been a software engineer at Google for the past 5.5 years. Last 3 years I was working at Google X, which is called X the Moonshot Factory. Our team was using AI to tackle the biodiversity crisis of insects. Everyone knows that bees are dying, yet they're extremely important. They are responsible for the majority of food we're eating. Our team started about 3 years ago listening for bees buzzing with IoT devices, and then we use machine learning to try classify bee diseases, see if the queen is happy, where the ants in the colony, and kind of building a smart hive. You can get a little bit more in details in the paper we published. So at some point later, we started scaling to more and more other species, including pests. Pests are super important because we have a massive biodiversity crisis of insects at the moment. If you look at the numbers, we have about 15% left compared to what was 60 years ago. You can read more about this in the book called Silent Earth. This is striking. So the biggest driver of biodiversity decline of insects is the use of pesticides. We spray toxic chemicals which kill everything, including good insects, bad insects, and they cause ocean acidifications and many other problems. So in our team we started looking for solutions how to reduce use of pesticides, using novel sensing solutions like pheromone traps, acoustic traps, drones, any sorts of remote sensing, satellite data, then organize everything into state-of-the-art time series geospatial biodiversity data, and then try to apply it in the real world. For example, we could model population dynamics of certain insects and then reduce the use of pesticides, basically trying to solve real-world problems using AI. I can't share too many details, unfortunately, but I want you to understand the spirit. So it's been my true dream job. I felt so fortunate to have it, and we have so many cool stories. For example, once we tried to schedule a meeting with the clients and they could not respond because bears broke a fence into the apiary and then tried to get the honey, and then they had to chase them away, and we could not have the meeting because of that. Once we had a really funny hardware bug. Basically, after a month, audio started to degrade, so you can't really hear what's going on, and the models did not perform. So we started investigation, and basically the hole for the microphone was like a honeycomb shape, and bees basically messed it up with the actual honeycomb and dumped a lot of honey into the hole. And after a month, audio started to degrade basically, and we couldn't hear anything. So once we found the bug, we were like, oh my gosh, who built this shape of the honeycomb and to put this to the actual beehive? So that was funny. So imagine being surrounded by brilliant, amazing people, flying business to California often, going to conferences, hanging out with professors, visiting farms or apiaries. This is so much fun. It's so cool when you're building technology and also interacting heavily with the real world. So this is super inspiring. Your day-to-day job as an engineer also super fascinating. Sometimes you get 100 terabytes of potato images, then you need to come up with a computer vision pipeline that would analyze all the data and produce the results. Sometimes you need to create a mobile app which would analyze the data, run TF-Lite models on it, and then upload everything to the cloud. This is super cool because every day feels like a hackathon. So you're whoa, today is I need to do a website. Tomorrow you need to use some deep learning to model population dynamics. The next day you need to create mobile apps. You can use any technology in the world. You are not limited to the Google infrastructure. Just use anything you want to solve the problems. So X's culture is incredible. It's like a massive sandbox and you can play with anything and just solve the problems. The crazy idea you have, the more it is supported. I was very lucky to be a founding engineer of the project, so I experienced everything from the front seat, how the team grows, all the technology that we build. Everything good comes to an end, After some time, it started to feel that you are like in the comfort zone and it's maybe a time to move on, to try something else. Maybe still very ambitious, but probably outside X. Don't get me wrong, X is like incredible place. Only here I tasted what it means to work on something truly meaningful for you and which could make a big difference in the world. And also doing that by being surrounded by incredible people. So it feels like real life Hogwarts. At the same time, it's a corporation which has its own pros and cons. On one side, you have kind of safety net, which helps you in case of a failure. I think we would fail many, many times, and we wouldn't probably survive as a startup. But at the same time, you have a bigger feeling of ownership. You would have a bigger skin in the game, so it would be more important for you to focus on work. Also, in a startup, you don't need to fight all these like bureaucracy, processes, policies. You can just do things. So after some time, I started asking myself, why not to try creating my own startup? You have experience, you know investors, you know amazing people. You can raise money for compute resources. So also with the project, it started to feel like there's a logical break. So it's maybe a time for a new chapter to start something new. At the end, staying in a big corporation is not the way to become a new Elon Musk or Richard Branson. I usually look at big tech as a platform which you can join, which has a lot of resources, opportunities. So if you decided to join this platform, it becomes a surfing. On one side, you can catch a wave and you will be on top of this wave. It will bring you a lot of power. You can make a massive impact in the world and things would be great. Or you can just drown in bureaucracy, internal policies and wouldn't make anything. Yeah, so living is not easy. You have a lot of responsibility for the baby that you created. Many people put trust into you, a lot of money involved. So you want to break as little bridges as possible. You don't want to close any door. It took a lot of hard but honest conversations. Actually, I'm very impressed by X's leadership, how they handle everything so professionally, approaching things with a lot of humility and trust. I still think that I might come back to X at some point, maybe for more senior position, because I think it's a really good place to work. So everything started making more sense. Initially, I was so excited. My main option was to try creating a startup with a friend from the team. Finally, for the first time in my life, I would become an entrepreneur and I would have my own company solving world's biggest challenges, which is like mind-blowing. In general, I had a lot of other ideas in mind. Maybe try creating effective NGO or maybe go back to the uni again to kind of double down into research, do some consulting gigs, which would be a great way to learn things. But there was no clear path of what's going to be happening, and a friend changed the idea to something like completely different. I wasn't really excited about the idea, but I still kind of tried to move forward with it and see what's going to happen. And then I didn't sleep really well. My heart rate variability was like really, really low because of a lot of stress. And a few days later, I had a first panic attack in my life, which was like horrible. And I like completely not attributed it to work. I thought it's something else. I couldn't recognize myself for the next couple of weeks, full of fears, lots of dreads, trying to imagine all sorts of health problems for myself. It didn't feel right. Surprisingly, it took me about 2 weeks to realize that I'm simply not passionate about the idea that the friend was proposing. After talking to my GP and some other good friends, I realized that I just don't want to be doing the new thing, but I'm still doing it because of my insecurities. I didn't make this decision because I loved the idea, because I was passionate about this. And it didn't come from the place of love. So basically in a month I would be a CTO of the new company, would have a really clear business plan, amazing investors, fantastic team, but doing something that doesn't mean much for me. Being a founder is a commitment for many years. How I could be hiring new people who trust me, knowing that I don't want to be doing that thing and want to leave myself, or how I would be networking with people from the new area if I know that I'm not interested in it. So I've made a very difficult decision to quit this path as well, without any plan. But I knew that I was choosing love over fear, inspired by Yes Theory YouTube channel. You should definitely watch it. This was like a very important learning for me. It sounds very obvious, but it wasn't obvious for me. It took me about 2 weeks to realize that. So when you're making a very important decision, ask yourself, is it coming from the place of fear or insecurities or from the place of love? I had to make these kind of decisions only a few times in my life. And I'm very proud that so far I chose love. I'm not sure if it's an ultimate advice for 100% of the time for everyone. Sometimes you need to choose safety, but I think it's an experiment in my life, so let's see what happens. I used to think of myself that I'm like super stable mentally, nothing to worry about, but it turns out to be not true. So last year was hard. There's a constant war on the background. A lot of friends from Ukraine and Russia are affected by it. I'm super worried about my parents. My grandma died in a horrible car crash and I couldn't even visit funerals. Some close friends have health problems and I was projecting those on myself. So if you add on top of that, like leaving your dream job, which brought you a lot of meaning, also leaving your dream flat when you spend so much time decorating it or like hiring interior designers and so on. Plus all this like winter London darkness, plus you have a lot of uncertainty about what's next in life. Basically, it hit me. So we all people, things spun out of control, and I had a lot of anxiety, fears, dreads. Like, what if there's something wrong with me? Why my heart is like racing so much? What if I become like mental or die? Who would take care of my family? What if I simply screwed up all my career and I wouldn't be able to find another job? What if my insurance is not gonna work and I would have something like very serious? If everything is okay, why I'm waking up in the middle of the night and like shaking and have this like constant fight and flight mode and trying to remove it and it doesn't go away? The list goes on and on. Yeah, about like 2 weeks after leaving Google, I started to feel a bit better. But it was still very, very challenging experience. That's why I decided to document this journey and share it with others. So first of all, it's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to ask others for help. Don't be ashamed having a therapist. Talk to your friends about the problems. It's all gonna help. Building up new routines from scratch helped me a lot when I moved to another place. For example, I was walking in the park, at least one circle every day to mark it as done. Meditation, breath work, all of that helps, but you need to be consistent and like do it every day, set up the routines. Sports help a lot. I started going to Lift the Movement, which is a calisthenics studio in London. It helped me get the confidence back. Practicing gratitude, journaling, having a quality time with friends, all of that helps. So leaving a corporation to create your startup is basically like jumping off the plane with a parachute. But in my case, I just throw away the parachute because I didn't like this particular idea and decided to jump into nowhere. Imposter syndrome is very real, especially when your nervous system is so drained and it's really hard to believe in yourself. But I think it's important to look at this as a learning experience. You're learning new stuff. A lot of people just maybe don't believe me. They think you have a grand plan, you quit to do that. But in reality, maybe I'm stupid, so I quit without any plan. I think it's okay to just start everything from scratch, see what happens. It's definitely gonna feel miserable, but I hope it's gonna worth it. I wanna trust the universe. After a few months, I feel super happy that I pushed myself to the point of failure. Maybe it was a bit too much. I guess I shouldn't push much further, but it's definitely a good experience and make me stronger. It's not always easy knowing what you truly want in life and what you want. So I'm kind of on a spiritual journey to try figuring it out. So on one side, I want the job to have a lot of positive impact, but it's not enough. For example, some sort of alternative meat could make a huge difference in the world, but it doesn't feel super interesting. So my current plan is stop worrying about the career or all other nonsenses. I want to just travel a little bit, enjoy life, go exercising. It's very hard to resist temptation of jumping into some random job and to feel productive again. But I think I need some headspace to truly process things before jumping into something next. So as an exercise, I decided to write down things which spark some interest in me. Then I want to ask, why is it interesting for me? What exactly attracts me to this thing? I think there is a 5 why framework. So you can ask why many times and then you will get to the key driver. Why is that you like? So for example, if you like something, you can still ask why many times. Or if you don't like something, you can ask why many times, and maybe it's gonna be the same thing which causes this thing to love and this one not. Someone famous told there is a job, there is a career, and there is a calling. So when it comes to oceans, I think I have a calling. I do a lot of scuba diving, free diving. It's such a completely different experience being underwater, surrounded by all these amazing creatures. Ocean ecosystems are so diverse and incredible. I want to learn more about how corals work. Oceans, I want to learn about coral restoration, how bioluminescence work, apply some sort of cutting-edge engineering to try protect the oceans. That would be a dream. In terms of why is it important for me, it's kind of being together with the nature and not against the nature. Oceans have so many beautiful, like super complicated ecosystems which were developing for millions or billions years. So it would be interesting to learn how they work and just get some inspiration from it. I love adventure. I always wanted to be an astronaut, and I feel it's like being an astronaut but in the ocean. I think stories are very important. This could be a very good story which could inspire a lot of people to tackle the biggest challenges in the world. I'm planning to go volunteer for the Global Coalition. They're trying to protect corals because corals are super important. This is one of the most biodiverse ecosystem on the planet. They're trying to use art to help conservation. They build like massive underwater installations to bring tourists and create marine protected areas around them to help reviving corals. So I'm planning to go diving with them and trying to build a coral restoration facility in Dominican Republic. I simply want to recharge a little bit, learn more about the ocean and see how it goes. See where it's gonna bring me. I'm super fascinated by everything that can fly. When I was a kid, I always wanted to become a spacecraft or aircraft designer to build the actual airplanes. I tried to learn how to fly on the airplane. I went to New Zealand learning how to fly on the glider. We were building freestyle drones with friends. All of this is so interesting, like swarm intelligence of drones, solving something that's so fascinating. I think I love diving in the water just because I love space so much. Biology and bioengineering is super exciting to me. I watched the Lex Fridman podcast with Michael Levin. They do like so many crazy things. So they take some frog cell, reprogram it to create xenobots so they run and do something, or they can regrow limbs, helping to cure cancer and so on. This is so fascinating. Maybe what if we can merge living things with AI through IoT devices? There is a startup which is doing basically AKG for plants. It can show if the plant is under stress and things like that. So we can live more sustainable life together with the nature. Why? Because of curiosity, how things work, how life works, or maybe engineering life. The other things I love is distributed systems or stream processing systems. Basically how data goes through space and time. This includes like real-time materialized views or like functional programming, dependent types. I don't know how to call all of that. Maybe functional programming at large. It's very inspiring to see how complex systems work and how data goes through space and time. And why? Because curiosity and also ability to change reality using those insights. Another bit I like is health optimization and longevity. I think people should be healthy and live longer to make the world a better place. I love listening a podcast called The Drive by Peter Attia. Recently he published a book called Outlive, so I'm strongly recommend it to anyone. He's all about strategy and frameworks, so he uses some sort of a holistic approach to medicine. There's something super cool about using rationality in life. I've read a book called The Harry Potter and the Method of Rationality by Elisa Yudkowsky. It truly kind of changed my life. There's something about using rationality, probability theory to approach the world with the scientific methods. The other bit is storytelling and creation of educational content. My whole family are teachers and I love teaching myself. So I'm planning to create more tutorials, how to use technologies, and maybe publish them on YouTube or in the blog. I really enjoy connecting people. If you connected people, you catalyzed a lot of processes and you can help good things to happen faster. And obviously machine learning, there's so many cool things going on in the space. So I want to be playing more with all of these stable diffusions, vector databases or whatever happening in the space to just know what's going on and Do you know any similar exercises that can help you find what you love? So living big tech, especially without a good plan, is not easy, but I'm very happy I did it. On one side I have some skills, but it's really hard to find a way to apply them well in life. So now I'm kind of on a crossroads moment in my life. I have no idea what's gonna be next, but I trust the universe that I will find something meaningful to work on. Yeah, let's see what's gonna happen. At least I'm super excited to go restore corals. Let's see what's gonna be next.